sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. I'm Virginia Jones. Some of you may know me as a stand-up comedian. Some of you know me from TikTok. Some of you just know me from life. And you know that I have a sister, and she's a therapist, and her name's Laura Ryan.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to Punchline Prophet, Virginia Jones.
Wow, I like Prophet because it feels like I can tell jokes from the future.
I was thinking more you're just a religious figure.
I was talking to future guest Brandy Posey about this weekend, that she feels that some comics are just people who don't quite have it together to be cult leaders.
I'm working as hard as I can to become someone who is good enough to become a cult leader, because I think what the country and the world needs now is whatever cult I've decided to create.
Laura wants you to know that her cult is not going to have a bunch of swinging, okay? It's not going to be...
It's actually going to be an anti-sex cult. There's no sex allowed.
Oh, if I look up sex-free cult on Google, the first question is, Quora, what sex cult can I join?
That is always what I'm wondering. Where's the hottest sex cult around here?
There's no sex-free cults. There's free sex cults. So Google's a little stymied with us.
I got it wrong. Hey, do you want to hear some stuff about our listeners? This is so confounding to me. United States, still number one.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey, still number two.
Wow.
UK has risen to 3. So good for you, UK. Thank you, guys. Okay. Australia has beaten out New Zealand, which is different. And then we've got Bangladesh. And then we have Canada. And then we have New Zealand. Then we have South Africa. And thank you, Norway.
Thanks, Norway. Shout out, brother.
And finally, we have France. I just realized I'd only read 9.
Why would Canada be after Bangladesh? Come on, Canada.
No. Why is Canada above New Zealand? We're way more New Zealand oriented than Canada.
Yeah, let's talk about Kiwis for 5 minutes. And not the people.
Let's talk about the bird, the fruit, and the people.
That's true. It is a bird and a fruit. That's weird. So when you tell somebody you're having kiwis for dinner, they really don't know.
If we're looking at gender stuff, 57.4% of our listeners are ladies. Thank you, ladies. 39.9% are men. Surprising and good. Dropped a little bit, but I'll take it. 2.5% shout out to our non-specified, and 0.2 non-binary. Thank you.
We're very proud of our 2% non-binary. And if you can tell your friends, we would like more.
I want all the non-binary that I can get.
My milkshake brings all the non-binary they, thems to the yard.
So, Virginia, this week is your topic.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? In case you're a first-time listener, I have no idea what the topic is. Virginia, tell us all at the same time.
This topic is called, What Do You Mean?
It's about people who don't understand what things mean.
Yes. My first question is, what do men mean when they say they don't like women in makeup? Because they love women in makeup.
Is this specifically just for men, or this is just anybody who you don't understand?
We can absolutely open it up to other things, but the list I have is questions that men ask.
So we've got another anti-makeup episode for our 40%.
Maybe they could learn a thing about a thing or two.
It's entirely possible.
So my first question is, what do men mean when they say they don't like makeup? Because studies have shown men love makeup. 78% of men say they prefer women without makeup, but when a woman has 2 dating profiles and one of them has makeup and one of them doesn't, her makeup account will get 34% more response. In a study at the Stillman School of Business, where men were given an imaginary amount of money they could send women in the guise of helping their businesses, women with makeup on received 30% more money. When I was waitressing, I often lived by the drag queen quote, the bigger the lips, the bigger the tips. Everybody knows that men like makeup. They respond to makeup. If they genuinely didn't like it, I don't think cis straight women would wear it. But you've lived your life as a much more natural, crunchy indie rocker than I have.
Very true. I do feel like it's a cultural shift. I think that men had no problem with makeup in the past. This is just me off the cuff. I have absolutely no evidence of this. Did you ever see the Amy Schumer skit? So basically, Amy Schumer is suddenly surrounded by a bunch of young white men singing to her in harmony about how she shouldn't wear makeup. And so she takes it all off, and then they start freaking out and telling her, put it back on.
Put it back on. I think the theme of this episode is there's certain things that I think of as bumper sticker statements. Men say them without really knowing what the implication is. They've heard other men say it.
I think a lot of men don't know what makeup looks like.
Right.
I've seen that a lot. A lot of women will wear very light makeup and talk about men have said, oh, I love how you are not wearing any makeup. She's like, I'm wearing mascara. I have eyeshadow on. Do you guys not understand what no makeup looks like?
Yeah, I have foundation on, but I think what men mean is the going out makeup, the makeup that changes all the contours of your face.
And I also think it has, these are just stories I'm making up, but I feel like it has something to do with the association with prostitution and lots of makeup. It's got to do with piety and Christianity. I remember I had to learn a song for singing lessons. 'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free. The whole thing was be simple, be muted, don't make waves. And I feel like a lot of the no makeup thing probably comes from our turbo Christian ancestry.
Yeah, just be Holly Hobby. You don't even see her face. You know she's beautiful.
I've only seen her hat.
My personal experience is a guy I was seeing in college who's like, I think you'd be prettier without makeup. This is the last time that I took that seriously, because as a 20-year-old with perfect skin, my best possible self, I showed up without makeup and he asked me if I was sick.
Yeah, because you probably had circles under your eyes,
right?
And you didn't have that fresh blush. There's reasons we wear makeup. I remember my first boyfriend always made fun of the fact that I wore makeup. And as you just explained, I wear very minimal makeup.
Yeah.
I generally don't wear any kind of base. I was just literally wearing concealer and he thought that was
too much.
Too much. Sometimes I would put on mascara, and I guess that was where I crossed the line. I remember also, I think we talked about this on a previous episode. He took me aside and told me that he wished that I wore makeup the way that the woman he probably was an affair partner with, the way she did it, because she would sit in front of an open window and get natural light. So it looked much more natural than the way I was doing it. Turns out he was probably a covert narcissist who was just trying to make me feel bad about myself.
Yes, because he did that kind of crap almost constantly. That's an interesting theory about religious background and our turbo Christian heritage. I think that what men are saying when they say they don't like makeup is they want women to just be naturally gorgeous. Just wake up and be gorgeous like the women on Instagram and the women in magazines.
They're not wearing makeup.
They're not wearing makeup. I just woke up.
I love the ones where they're laying in their bed, pretending like they're getting ready in the morning. Lady, how is your hair already pressed and you have a full face of makeup? Give me a break.
I think they don't want to be tricked. Men don't want to be tricked into dating someone who's less attractive than he thinks he deserves. It is a funny little irony because half of TikTok is about how to optimize your face, put makeup on like a scientist to present the best version of yourself to attract a man who says he doesn't like it. It's very weird.
I think the issue is that men need to start wearing makeup.
And men look great in makeup. Men with light, natural makeup, straight men, women pick them every time. That looks great. You only have to look as far as emo music to know that black eyeliner on men, that's a look. That's a great idea. Everyone should do it. Well, only slutty men should do it.
Well, you only have to look as far as Egypt to realize that men should be wearing eyeliner. I think it's also a sign of you're broke. If you're dating a woman who has eyelashes that are permanent and she has her hair extensions and nails and all the things that you are attracted to, you will probably at some point have to pay for those things. And if you don't have any money, it's not going to be great for you.
Well, it's interesting also, women in the South are known to wear more makeup. Women in California are known to wear more makeup compared to women in New York, where they act like they're not vain and they don't have a beauty standard, but their beauty standard is thin as a rail, has never seen food before, wearing very expensive clothing, but no makeup. I've known Americans who travel to Amsterdam who are made fun of for wearing makeup. It does change based on where you are, but there always is a beauty standard that you're trying to hit. It's not like there's ever a place where the way you roll out of bed is just acceptable.
I remember I had a conversation with a client of mine who I do not experience as a particularly vain person, but she was talking about how even when she's just going for a run, she puts on makeup. And I said, that's crazy. And I said, actually, you reminded me of this girl, Catherine Cuellar, who her mom wouldn't let her leave the house unless she wore earrings. And she said, see, she's Hispanic, I'm Hispanic. So I think that's another cultural piece. I think with Hispanic women, you have to be made up and look good all the time.
When I was in Texas, there was a time when I was a fitness instructor, girls would come in to a boxing class with a full face. And I remember being marketed to that there was sweat-free makeup or sweat-proof makeup that was designed to wear at the gym. And like you, I thought that was nuts. I do have a phony memory of like a real Southern belle came to my class because this was when Tybo was fashionable and all the ladies wanted a box. And it was before $1 Million Baby when we knew it could give us brain damage. This girl came into my class and she was wearing a pearl necklace. I just said, hey, if those are real pearls, you might want to take them off because sweat can damage the nacre coating on pearls. It can pit them out. She said to me, but these are my pearls. I wear them always. Okay.
I think it's also cultural shifts. It was the expectation that we did have to have lots of makeup on, and somehow we've sort of moved to the other. I don't leave the house without under eye concealer for sure. I don't want people to think I'm a reanimated corpse.
I think that this expression, it just means that men, they don't want to look like they're with a painted lady. And I think they don't want to be tricked. They don't want to be caught out dating someone who they perceive as less attractive than they deserve. I have a TikTok that's been doing rather well, and it's answering the question, why don't men ask questions on dates? I just got a response that annoyed me so much I had to reply to it while we were podcasting, which I know is rude. In the video, I say, men don't ask you questions because they don't give dates as getting to know a person or connecting with a person. They think of it as a job interview where the position they want is on top of you. A guy has put in his 2 cents and said, it's because you're dating above your pay grade and he's just thinking of you as a lay. Date people who are your looks match, which is not a word I've ever heard before.
What even does that mean?
As if a woman generally could date someone more attractive than she is. Women are by and large head and shoulders more attractive than you people with or without makeup. Lord.
Half of you look like dried up old trolls.
And we're still trying to love you. We're doing our best.
Sir, just slap on some under eye concealer and brush your hair.
And wear something a little more revealing.
And maybe smile more.
I don't like when women wear revealing clothing. When men love it when women wear revealing clothing. But the study I found from Dress and Sex, a review of empirical research involving human participants. I'm glad that they involved human participants.
This probably wouldn't work with chimps.
Or dogs. When they showed men pictures of women wearing what they perceived as sexy dress. The pop star look that's fashionable where you're just wearing fetish underwear of some sort. And
no pants. Why would you wear pants on stage?
No pants.
I don't need to wear pants on stage in front of thousands of people.
So men, when they looked at pictures of women, indicated that they found that women's primary intentions for wearing sexy dress were temptation and seduction. Women indicated that the woman dressed that way was to gain affection or to look attractive. So again, we're at loggerheads in interpreting intention. And of course, the unfortunate perceived correlation between women's revealing dress and experiencing sexual violence, there is no relationship between being dressed, revealing or not revealing, and experiences of sexual violence. Women have experienced SA in sweatpants, t-shirts.
I also want to refer back to Ludacris, where he says, lady on the streets and a freak in the sheets. To appear to be non-sexual out in the world, but I want you to do all that dirty stuff and do all the things when we're alone. I'm going to keep that to yourself. I think women need to do more hair covering. That's what I'm going to say.
I do wonder that. I was interacting with a lady wearing a hijab the other day, and I'm like, does she just think I look like a whore? The answer is yes. I haven't experienced Muslim countries very much, but one time I was in Jakarta in Indonesia, and I didn't realize that it was a primarily Muslim country because I didn't look it up. When I traveled in Asia for work, I was generally wearing tank dresses and flip-flops because it's hot. People treated me like I was a lady of the street.
Yeah. I had a friend who went to Egypt and wore shorts and a tank top, and women in hijabs chased her down and tried to spray her legs with spray paint.
Wow. That's a weird hobby.
Just offer a girl a skirt.
On clothing specifically, I also found some interesting stuff about the color red. As part of the same study, they compared women in blue, green, and white versus red. And men rated women wearing red as more attractive and having more sexual intent. And of course, this is totally cultural. It's not a sexy color everywhere. In 2014, women found other women wearing red more sexually receptive. They were likely to derogate the sexual fidelity of a woman wearing red and indicated that they would guard their romantic partners from such a woman. A color means you are a slattern. Men are attracted to women in sexy clothing, but they would prefer it if it were in private.
If ladies don't like other women wearing red ever,
she's going to steal my man. Some men felt like a woman wearing sexy clothes was infidelity, just the wearing of the clothing. How dare she look for attention from other men? She has me.
I had an ex-boyfriend in that vein. And when I would go out without him, he would harshly judge anything that I wore that was slightly attractive. I shared with him once, I'm not dressing for other men. I'm dressing for my girlfriends, and they like this.
And I'm dressing to feel good. I'm dressing to feel confident. There's a lot of things that we get confused between I am dressing to attract other men or to feel attractive.
I am always dressing for other women. I don't care about what I feel like. I want other women to compliment my outfit, and that's all that matters.
I've spent a lot of my time in goth clubs. There was one night where it was pajama night.
I bet that went off the rails.
And I knew what they meant. They meant sexy pajamas or nighties or whatever. But I wore my Gloomy Bear kigurumi because I thought it was hilarious. There's blood all over it. I had claws. I became aware. I think I'm not always aware of men looking at me, but I was aware of men looking away from me.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot of the time. Men looking away from me. I've also found having incredibly attractive friends will let you also know how men are actively avoiding your gaze, because you'll walk in a line with a few of them and you're at the back and you can see the eyes and how they dart away because I'm wearing an oversized pair of sweats. People are not that into it.
When I was in college, I don't mean to show off, but I worked at a Jack in the Box. I had this experience where I really shone in Jack in the Box employment history was not hard work or cleaning a lot, but it was being charming. And especially when secret shoppers came through, I would get amazing scores because I was so nice. Because I could tell they were not college students because they were not dirty. There was one repeat customer. He used a wheelchair. I was nice to him. He started stalking me a little bit. Other people thought it was really harmless and sweet because he was in a wheelchair. And I found it very upsetting. Looking back, I felt badly for both of us because clearly he was someone who didn't have a lot of kindness in his life. Just the kindness of a Jack in the Box employee, he was mistaking for sexual interest. That was why he was trying to get people to hold the door to my dorm so he could come in and visit me.
Well, that's not scary at all. I know someone in my personal life who was telling me a sad story. I think they had shopped at Trader Joe's. They had an interaction with the teller at the grocery store. And she said, have you got plans for the weekend? And so he walked out to his car and thought about it for a second and came back in and said, were you hitting on me a second ago?
Me out?
Yeah, what was that? And she said, no, I'm just being polite. It feels like it's just women who are getting pooped on because of this stuff, but men are getting pooped on too. They don't know what to do. They don't know whether people like them or they're very isolated. It's sad. It's really sad.
They're confused about sex and love. They're confused about how to communicate to women. They're confused about what dating is and what it's for. They're confused about male friendships. They're scared of having male friendships in case it's gay. There's so much stuff that it's bad for men. It's killing men. And I want to reiterate that I am concerned about that.
I am concerned about that too. I had a client talking about how he was at the gym and he was trying to talk to women about their workouts. And he had to be very careful about the word choices he made because he didn't want to seem like a creep. But he said he still kind of felt like they thought he was a creep. When I was in elementary school and junior high, I think boys talked to me when they didn't find me attractive. But since high school, I've never had a man approach me in a public place that didn't on some level seem like he was scheming on something.
And the gym is not a great place to talk to women because we're on high alert. I'm wearing something that's maybe more revealing than I usually would. I'm moving my body. I'm aware that men are looking at me. I don't love it. I don't think you can have any neutral conversation with a woman in the gym that you don't know. There was a wonderful TikTok from a very beautiful girl. And she said, it's funny being fat, but being obscenely attractive because men don't know if they're mad at you or if they want to sleep with you. And she was extremely pretty. And the comments just bore out this theory. Men were so mad at her. And something that came up a lot was, you should be humble, which is not something we say to men. When's the last time a man told another man, you could use a little humility? What is the undercurrent of that? When men say women should be humble, you should not know your value so that you can be counted on to date unattractive men.
Because you don't have to be fat for a man to say that you should be humble on the internet.
Oh, no. Any woman who says, I look attractive or I feel attractive or look at how hot this is, she will get the humble.
Well, she doesn't even have to say the words. She just has to wear something that's kind of revealing, imply that she finds herself attractive.
Women have been fed this line our entire lives that our job is to be attractive. Our job is to be decorative.
Attractive enough for my friends on the golf course
Mhm.
to think that I'm good, but not to the point where I could be an Instagram model.
Because then other men will be paying attention to you.
And also, I'm going to be elevated above my partner.
One, I think that men like to date someone more attractive than they are. And two, as previously stated, it is almost impossible for them to date someone less attractive than they are.
It's almost impossible for men to date people who are their same attractiveness level. No offense to 40% of our listeners.
I have a lot of problems with men telling me to sit down and shut up and be humble.
Why?
It's a weird thing.
I personally love it.
When men say, oh, I don't want a gold digger. I don't want to be wanted for my money. I don't want a woman to expect me to give her money. But they flaunt their money to attract women. Sports cars, expensive clothing, nice homes. This is all meant to attract women.
No, but
That's
I
what
want
you're
you
going
to
to attract.
love me for me.
I'm going to spend this money so you find me attractive. But if you find me attractive because of the money, you're a bad person.
I'm going to approach you and talk to you because I find you physically attractive. And then I'll reprimand you if you yourself are confident and feel attractive.
I don't make a habit of judging the looks of other women.
I do.
But I did see Jeff Bezos' second wife at the inauguration.
P.S. Jeff Bezos looks like a melting candle.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos looks like the nub of a candle, which has melted. I guess I didn't see her before. I'm like, holy crap. She has gone whole hog into this sex object thing.
That's what you do when you're trying to ensnare another married person into having an affair partnership and leaving their wife for you.
I suppose so. What do men mean when they say they want a traditional woman?
They want to establish the hierarchy where I'm better than you.
I find it very funny because they want a woman who's into traditional gender roles and she'll be a homemaker and have domestic responsibilities, but also she needs to work. So she's just saying out loud, I want someone to do twice the work that I do.
And be happy and humble and grateful for it.
Yes. And not wear too much makeup, not wear red. God, no. What does it mean when men say, not all men?
What they're saying is shut up and stop saying that men do bad things.
Right. And of course, not all men, not all women, not all bandicoots, not all anything. No one thing does 100% the same stuff, except for cheetahs. It is all cheetahs because cheetahs have no genetic diversity.
Who told you that?
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes, but I told you about it before you read the book. So
That's
I
right.
win.
Yes, you do win. Because our relationship is always a competition, you win.
Oh, let me think about this. There is got to be one thing that all women do. I was going to say use toilet paper to pee, but I guess there's some cultures that are not doing toilet paper.
Yeah. All women have pulses and breathe and eat food.
All living women.
All living women. You're right.
Not all women. There are
Caught
women
again.
who are
Caught
not
again.
living. There are women who are not currently alive, who do not have pulses, and we need to include them.
Yeah. I don't want to leave them out of the conversation, even though they can't participate in the conversation in an active way.
How dare you say that? Not all dead women can't participate in conversation.
Not all men is a way to shut down a conversation. It's also a way to deflect their own guilt.
A lot of times they are doing the thing that you're suggesting.
Or have done, or their friends have done it, or whatever it is. Nobody is going to get through this world never having done anything that they weren't proud of.
Not all men is a straw man argument. For the listener, I am saying personally that men don't get hired at morgues because they have intercourse with dead bodies.
Not all men.
Right. So you've created this other separate argument that
Right.
has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
You are pivoting the argument to something else. I think it means that men resent being lumped in with other men, even when it is majority men doing the thing.
Well, when people say women do X, Y, and Z, unfortunately, I was forced to watch The Nutty Professor recently.
I wonder why.
Just in the mood. And there's a scene where Dave Chappelle comes out as this terrible comic doing all the tropes. And so he says, women be shopping. That's the first thing he says when he comes on stage. And I thought, not all women. I don't like it when people make generalizations about the group that I belong to, but I also don't say stuff like that.
But it is funny because that is the hack trope that comics say to each other.
I know you have complicated feelings about Dave Chappelle, but he does nail the hack trope in this film.
Right.
He's dressed like a hack. He's wearing this ridiculous hat and has these really incredibly sagged pants. He just looks ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And he just starts off with women be shopping and he just keeps saying it. And then he just points at people in the audience and tells them how unattractive they are.
The sad thing about Chappelle is it's not that he's not talented. It's not that he's not brilliant. It's that
It's
he's
just that he has a
lazy
real
and
problem with trans people.
I was watching a TikTok where a woman was talking about the abuse of women. Men will say, but men are also abused by women. And it's the same straw man argument. Yes, that's true. But you're just trying to divert me from topic. You're just trying to find this other place to put it because you don't want me talking about women being abused. It's not got anything to do with the conversation we're having right now.
Right. But this conversation is making me uncomfortable. So I have to say something dumb to make you start talking about this other thing that has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
I find it very funny and ironic, not in the Alanis Morissette way, when men say, I'm not emotional, I'm just stating facts, or facts aren't feelings. Because when men say that, they are mad. They are experiencing fury, the only emotion men are allowed to experience. But they love to tell us that we're emotional when they are absolutely losing their minds.
Right. When they're being hysterical and emotional. I was reading this book entitled How Male Privilege Hurts Women by Kate Mann on TikTok. If you listened and followed my TikTok live on Friday, thank you very much.
1,000 people.
Virginia did it for a minute. She talks about that a lot in the book where she's saying, we talk about feelings as if anger isn't one of them. I'm also reading another book about women's anger. And she talks about the fact that when we talk to little girls, we don't talk to them about their angry feelings. We only talk about the other feelings. When we talk to little boys, we only talk about anger and we don't talk about the other feelings. Anger is an emotion.
It sure is. What does it mean when a guy says, I'm a nice guy, I'm one of the good ones?
I'm an essayer and you should avoid me at all costs. And this is a huge red flag.
Yes, I feel entitled. I have performed acts of kindness, friendship, emotional support to a woman, and therefore I deserve something from her. I can put friendship coins into the slot and I deserve sex as a payout. They are saying this because they are trying to defend themselves or feel like, oh, I'm not the men you're bitching about. You're exactly who I'm bitching about.
Because they're comparing themselves to people who are currently incarcerated. They're pretending like there's a huge difference between them and those men.
I've never sex trafficked a teenager. Well, that's great.
So the bar is in hell for you to be a nice person. I made a TikTok about this where this woman is saying, why is it that I can't just be kind and nice to a man in public without him thinking I'm hitting on him? Right. And she said, well, it's because when a man talks to you in public and he's nice to you, it's because he finds you attractive. Because men don't speak to women that they don't find attractive.
Or if they're wearing a Gloomy Bear kigurumi, which I was very cute in, by the way.
I have professional photographs of you wearing that. I know how attractive you look.
It's one of those things where it was like $100 when I bought it. And I thought, this is a ridiculous purchase, but I have gotten more use out of that Gloomy Bear onesie than I have most of the things in my closet.
I agree. If we're doing girl math, you basically end up, I think you only paid like a nickel for that thing at this point.
Investment dressing. I just want men to think about what they say and to realize that there's an underlying statement that they need to acknowledge, because they wouldn't be brave enough to say, if you are showing cleavage, you are being unfaithful to me, or I don't like you wearing red in public. They're going to say something else and try to evoke shame or whatever feelings they need to get a woman to stop doing something.
So what you're suggesting is that men need to focus more on having assertive communication instead of passive communication.
Yes. And men need to focus on...
Not all men.
No. What their prejudices and stereotypes and stereotypical thinking is bringing out of them.
It's very hard to do that because we're asking them to unpack their entire life of information.
And all of our training.
Right. I remember taking a class on racism in graduate school. It was the first class that I'd ever taken on this topic. At that point, it was a requirement to become a therapist. The first assignment of the day was to take a moment and sit down and think about the first time that you encountered racist ideas. And the one I came up with was when I was 5. Mm-hmm. You have to ask yourself, if I'm a boy and I wake up in the morning, first day of life, and people are immediately telling me that I'm superior, I'm strong, I'm masculine, I'm macho, and then I grow up in a world where I'm just getting these constant messages about my superiority and everyone else's inferiority, and how I'm also only allowed to have one feeling, and how I'm also not allowed to have any friends, and I just have to live in this weird void of life
where I'm better, but alone.
I'm completely alone because as a lone wolf, that's how life is for me. Because the thing you're saying is, okay, this person is being engulfed in a tidal wave of information that goes this certain way. And you're saying, well, you should probably stop that or unpack it a little bit. And it's very tough to do. And I'm not going to say it's easy because I've had to overcome a lot of my own stuff.
Of course.
As a person in life.
And I was talking with a friend about the behavior of a woman that we don't agree with. And I'm like, but it's hard because every single one of us is raised to be a pick-me and is raised to say things like, well, I don't like other girls because they're just high drama and I prefer to hang out with boys. It's training, it's every single one of us, not just men. Everyone needs to examine these impulses.
Even you, when you're talking about Jeff Bezos' wife, why do we have to police her appearance?
You're right. There's an idea that I have in my head about what a super rich woman looks like, and it's not that.
Well, this chick is super rich, so it is that. I was going to say she married well. She didn't marry well. She married a man who has a lot of money, so now she is entitled to some of that money.
My last question is, what do men mean when they say, she's crazy? Don't listen to what she says. She's crazy. There's an old joke. It's sexist, it's racist, it's everything that my dad told us when we were growing up. There's this traveling salesman and young people, before you could buy everything on the internet, there used to be people who would travel from house to house goods. Hey, do you need any brushes? Do you need these plates? This guy has sold some things to a farmer and the guy invites him to stay the night. The salesman has a talent, which is ventriloquism. And he's like, I'm going to entertain this man who's being so nice. So they're hanging out. And the homeowner is petting this dog and the salesman goes, are you enjoying your life? And the dog's like, yeah, it's real nice. He treats me good. He pets me a lot. We go for walks, got a lot of good treats. I'm happy with my life here. And then they go for a walk and like there's chickens outside and he asks the chickens, what do you enjoy about your life here? Or how are things going? And they're like, oh, it's really great. We have a warm coop to live in. He gives us a lot of seed. Then the farmer stands in front of the ventriloquist and blocks his way and says, sheep don't talk. They tell lies.
Of course, that's a reference to the fact that not all men are sexually abusing sheep. I've just taken a quick moment and I looked up sheep sexual assault.
Oh, good.
I'm just going to read a couple of titles. I haven't even read anything. Animal sexual abuse in female sheep. National Sexual Hotline. Science Direct talked about it. It's because not all men are essaying for sheep.
And when men say she's crazy, they mean don't listen to what she says. She doesn't talk. She tells lies.
In the book, Rage Becomes Her, The Power of Women's Anger by Soraya Shamali, I'm currently reading it. She's talking about this idea of the crazy woman. And she was saying, what makes a woman a crazy woman? It's a woman who is outspoken. It's a woman who yells. It's a woman who has anger more than anything.
Are no women mentally ill? Of course. Of course we are.
Well, the same woman is telling this personal story about she gets home early from school or something and she sees her mom who never yells and never raises her voice or anything like that. She's got the family china and she's just smashing it outside in the backyard. And then she sees her mom and her mom is acting perfectly normal and says nothing about it. So that's an interesting message for women about anger.
What are your final thoughts about this topic?
My final thoughts on this topic are the same final thoughts I've had on most of our topics, which is we need to change our society. We have to do better. We have to do better for men. We have to do better for women. We have to do better for children. We have to do better for every race of people and every group of people.
And how do we do that?
I find that when I'm trying to change the entire world, I get super overwhelmed and I just want to retreat and give up. Instead, if I focus just on my own behavior, simple things like I have stopped saying master bedroom. I say main bedroom.
Right.
It's not okay to say that. I try really hard to think about the way that I'm talking about other people. I try to focus on calling people out when I notice that they're doing something that's shifty or weird towards another group. I just think you have to keep yourself informed, do your best, but actually try and notice that just because something was okay 20 years ago doesn't make it okay now. And I don't know why women are a marginalized group because we are half of the population, but we are a marginalized group and we have to be treated differently than we've been treated. And we have to let go of social hierarchies. So Virginia, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
Obviously, I agree with everything you said. I have a joke right now about how this society is bad for men. I just read that the reason married men live longer than single men is not all the casseroles. It's because married women will make their husbands doctor's appointments, and single men don't bother going to the doctor.
It's effeminate to take care of your body.
Right. And these are the people that we've let run the world because they're just better at stuff. Meanwhile, they're like, oh, I can't bother to get my blood pressure checked, so now I'm going to die in this Wendy's. It's embarrassing.
I don't know how to wipe my own butt or, do basic home tasks. I should be a CEO, even though I don't know how to figure out how to make a mop work.
I think that we all need to examine the things we say, the way we think about other people, and realize that a lot of it is bunk. A lot of it is just what we've been told.
A lot of it is indoctrination.
Laura, if people wanted to find you or your work or your TikToks, where would they find that on the internet?
If they wanted to find me at my professional website, they would go to lauraryan.org. If they wanted to follow me on the TikTok, I'm currently boasting 682 followers.
I noticed that the other day. I'm well above 500. And TikTok has now awarded you the ability to do a TikTok live, which used to be at 1K.
That was my dream for so long. And now I've lived the dream. You can follow me on TikTok at I am Laura Ryan. You can find me on my Sisters of Therapist Instagram page. You can also find me on mysistersoftherapists.com. It's us. And if you ever want to contact us with a show idea or just to tell us that we're great, you can do that at hello@mysistersoftherapists.com. Virginia, where can people find you on these interwebs?
Thank you so much for asking. You can find me at my personal website, www.badinia.com. You can find me at my TikTok, Badinia, or my Instagram, which is also Badinia. What does the word Badinia mean? I'll never tell. If you would like to hire Laura and I, or Laura or I, we'll work separately. We can do an East Coast, West Coast beef. If you would like us to represent your sports car dealership or
your Costco, your AAA.
Costco, hot dogs, your AAA, we're only going to really want to work for companies that promote DEI initiatives. You can write us at hello@mysistersoftherapists.com or hire us at mysistersoftherapists.com. Laura, this is the part of the podcast where you sometimes will read a nice comment or email from a listener, and we do welcome those. If you're holding back on writing us a review because you're like, they don't want to hear it, they're busy, we very much want to hear it.
I absolutely want to hear it because I have to come up with a fresh one.
Which is something that you've done.
That I've created myself. It's a problem
that task for yourself. Yes.
That I have now created. Hot off the presses, which is something an old person would say. We have a new review from our Amazon reviews. And this is from Maggie. They got a rise and a cease and desist letter from Russell Brand. I absolutely love this podcast. It's informative and hilarious. The hosts deliver insights with the perfect mix of humor and relatability. As a woman, I find their perspectives refreshing and in tune with my own experiences. They bring lightness to tough topics and also offer a fresh perspective that helps me process and escape the doom spiral of my mind. Highly recommended. P.S. If you're not following these sisters on their socials, you should be.
Thank you, Maggie. Awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie.
Maggie is referencing a TikTok that I made where I pretended that Russell Brand had written us a cease and desist letter.
Well, it's very nice to sign off with the kind words of listener Maggie. We love you, New Zealand. Come back. But
we also love you, Turkey. We just find it strange.
Perplexing. Right. I've been to Turkey. I've been to your beautiful country. I've eaten all kinds of Turkish delight.
I've gotten hair plugs.
My hair plugs look amazing. And
they
very
really did. They looked very natural.
In the immortal words of, I think, our emotional founder, Billy Ray Valentine Capricorn, we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.